Paul Ryan has an idea that's certainly worthy of consideration in terms of how do we do this in a more efficient way. I'm for it. No, it's our idea. All right, it's Paul's idea. Other people have other ideas. I'm not wedded to one single idea, but I think we have a plan.
Wow. We're back, and that was House Speaker John Boehner in late April talking about, that's only a few days ago, talking about the Republican plan to end Medicare. The GOP leadership seems to be blaming the Democratic Senate and the president for not wanting to go forward with the Ryan plan. But is this just the Republicans whipping out from a tough fight ahead, or do they realize this was a losing issue with Republicans? For more on this and the debate last night, wow, I'm joined by Chris Cillizza, who's managing editor of Post.com, postpolitics.com, and Roger Simon, of course, chief political columnist. Roger, you can tell, can't you? Slip sliding away.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, you know the difference between a definite article and an indefinite article?
Yeah.
Instead of saying the plan, it's now and plan.
It's Paul's plan.
It's Paul's plan.
The Republican, Boehner is not going to swallow the suicide pill along with Paul. He's just not going to.
Well, this happened rather quickly. So what happened? 2 weeks ago, they all voted for it, but 4 Republicans.
Exactly.
Everybody, what happened?
Well, what happened was the realization is that there's no constituency for this plan. Nobody wants it except a few people in think tanks. Yeah. And the House just got rolled because they were on this high. It's just like President Bush's desire to privatize Social Security. We talked about it for months. Nobody in the country wanted it.
Okay, here's a disconnect, and I want to go right to the Frank Luntz thing afterwards, because this is so instructive. Let's hold this moment watching. This is more important than anything you do. It's to understand what words mean. Americans like Social Security. My dad was as Republican as you can get, and he liked Medicare because for the first time in his life, something was being paid for that he had paid into. He was getting something back for all the years of working since he was 18. Okay. Americans like Social Security. They don't think of it as welfare. They think you pay it in, you get it back. It's a very middle-class attitude. I paid for it. It's my right. Okay. And then they go along and on this Fluntz thing, or this Frank Luntz thing, like we call him Fluntz, this Frank Luntz thing last night, and everybody's calling Obama socialist. Well, what do they, on the one hand, they say, Chris, I want this as America. Roosevelt did this, Johnson did this, but it's mine now, it's America. And then they throw out the word, every one of those people in that focus group said he's a socialist. What is it?
Well, look.
Are they socialists? Are these Republicans socialists?
I think that we expect that there's a logic to everyone's thought that, well, if I'm for Social Security and Medicare...
It's not socialism.
Right. But there isn't, Chris. Look, the truth of the matter is that people, and we've seen this over the last couple of elections, people have a patchwork electoral approach, a political philosophy. Independents go for Democrats by 18 points in 2006. They go for Republicans by 19 points in 2010. Not that much changed in those 4 years. Can I just
but what do they mean when they say socialism? Do they mean
because they're picking up on the buzzwords.
I know, but what does it mean? I don't like them. It means
one person's weed is another person's flower.
When you speaking of weed, did you hear that the Republican Party last night is the dope party?
Oh well,
what do you make of that?
It's heroin. What I make
legalize
is
heroin, horse?
Is that libertarians just don't care what the general public thinks of them. They're not going to get elected president. They can go into these debates and be terrific. They can be strong. They can be decisive because they don't care. If you're Tim Pawlenty, poor Tim Pawlenty, who really wants to be president, you got to be measured. You got to be careful.
And we argue about steroids. We argue about steroids. You go to jail if you use them. And he's legalizing heroin. And the other guy, the former governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson, he wants to legalize marijuana, which is not exactly that controversial, but this is the conservative party.
This is here's the problem, Chris. This is why
they're loopy.
To Roger's point, this is why it's an odd thing that Tim Pawlenty participated. I get why he participated. He figures Fox News Channel, a lot of Republican viewers. This will expose me. But you're playing with different rules than other people.
Right.
Ron Paul and Gary Johnson are not on the same
There's two Republican parties. There's the establishment Republican Party that wants to hold office, and then there's the Tea Party-led party that would just as soon yell and have fun. Here's, by the way, an interesting guy. Here's Frank Luntz's focus group. And it showed that Herman Cain, the businessman from Atlanta who heads up Godfather's Pizza, he created it. He's the pick of the group watching. Here it is. This is an amazing result. Here was his favorite line from Cain in the Fox News Channel debate last night. Let's listen.
One of the biggest problems we have with this country right now today is too much government intervention in trying to tell businesses how to do what they do best, which is create jobs. Government doesn't create jobs. Businesses create jobs. We need to get government out of the way, including trying to tell a company where they should build a new plant.
Well, this is Ronald Reagan stuff from early 60s. This is motivational
Classic
speaking.
Republican talk. Classic Republican talking point.
But what does he mean? Governments have been telling businesses where to put their factories since zoning began.
Well,
what is new?
He doesn't care what's new. I mean, I would listen.
You want to put a factory in somebody's nice neighborhood? You can't do it in a second.
As smart as he is, I would listen to him about whether to choose deep dish over New York style. I don't think I would listen to him about economics and how to build jobs and how to put people back to work.
I would say, I think that clip, and there was one other clip, Chris, in which he said, somebody asked, well, you've only been a businessman, never been in office, and he basically said, well, we've elected a lot of politicians. How's that working for you? People went crazy because, look,
what does that mean?
What it means is this. The Republican Party of today, we learned this in the 2010 election, all those Senate primaries where the establishment lost to the Tea Party. The Republican Party of today wants someone to say, politicians do not know what is going on. We need to get government out of people's lives. Herman Cain is an effective messenger for that kind of message. And I think that's why you saw him do well in this focus group. Look, that message is what the bulk of the Republican Party's message is currently.
Let me go back to an earlier poll we showed tonight. We asked the Washington Post poll, your poll over there, ask people about whether he's an American or not. Pretty simple question after the president showed every ID card in the world, his birth certificate, long form. Still, among Republicans, it's about 1 in 7. 14%, but they're the kinds of people I would bet who show up in these caucuses and primaries. Your thought? Are they that crazy?
I would say, in my opinion, Chris, this is what Herman Cain is trying to tap into is different than that. I don't think you're ever going to disprove it to people, the birth thing, to people who just don't want to believe the evidence. It's been true long before President
Republican
Obama.
Voters?
I think there are some of them that were Republican voters, but I do think Herman Cain is tapping into something different, which is a desire for a businessman, bring business principles. I will tell you this, Mitt Romney is going to talk like that. I bet Tim Pawlenty talks like that. What Herman Cain said yesterday, that's not the last time you're going to hear that, and not just from him.
I agree with everything Chris said, but I got to say one thing about focus groups because people are confused about them. Focus groups are not mini polls. They should not be used to ask afterwards who won. They reflect only the opinions of the people in the room. A legitimate focus group answer is, tell me the good points and bad points of everyone you saw tonight. Give me a word that you associate with this candidate or that candidate. They are not meant to be. If 78% of the focus group likes Cain, 78% of the voters do. Absolutely false. And the media, not just people, are confused on that point. You know what the
consultants call them? Peasants under glass. Anyway, thank you, Roger Stein. It's great to see you here, Chris Liz. Have a nice weekend. Mother's Day, by the way, is coming up.